Hello and welcome to this latest edition of Bulls on Parade Talk. I am your host Joshua Sines, and today I have some breaking news. And to all of you that are following the Texans and reading these blogs online, I'm sure you already know, but I just want to take a minute to sort of enlighten you guys a little bit on this topic. As you know, not only have we lost a couple of coaches, but we've lost some staff and some people in the front office. Well, reported today from the Houston Chronicle and by ESPN, former assistant general manager for the Miami Dolphins, Gaine, has been hired by the Houston Texans as the director of pro personnel. Now, to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what what a director of pro personnel does, it's basically this, and I got it down here on my notes. Basically, his job description is this, and keep in mind it depends on what they're being asked to do. It varies from team to team, but their main responsibility, most of their responsibilities is this: they are responsible for the scouting personnel. Basically, they assign scouts to certain college players, to certain players in the NFL now. So they can, and then, the scouts go out, they do their job, they jot down stats, jot down observations, their recommendations, and if they like them, they report back to the director of pro personnel and say, hey, thumbs up to this guy, right? So that's part of their job. And they are also going to be very active on draft day. They don't make any decisions. But they take, and you know what I said about the scouts coming back and giving the director of pro personnel a thumbs up on a current pro. They do the same thing for those same scouts. Do the same thing with these college athletes when they go out there and they scout these kids during games, during workouts, during their pro days and such. They go back and they say, hey, we like this guy, we think he's a good fit. So he takes all this in and then reports to the general manager and says, hey, this guy is good, a thumbs up to this guy. So and also, one final thing that this man is responsible for is contract negotiations with a incoming rookie, contract extension, any kind of contract negotiation. And that's where a lot of these guys make most of their money. They are either good at writing contracts, and they talk to a player's agent and get all the negotiations going, or they are well known for scouting. So they can either be good at one or the other, or they can be good at both. Now, like I said, this man Gaine, in his last position, he was an assistant general manager, and everyone in Miami thought that he was going to be promoted to general manager after Miami let their general manager go. But, as we all know, that never happened. Now, to give you a little brief, I decided to take this time. Some of you might not know who Gaine is. Well, I took the liberty of jotting down a couple of notes about him from different sources, specifically from Miami newspapers, Miami media, Miami writers and bloggers, about him and basically what they've reported on him and on his history. Well, Gaine is a graduate of the University of Maine, and during his time at the University of Maine, he played tight end on their football team. And in the late 90s, when he came into the NFL for the first time as a tight end, he was on the practice squad. He was on the practice squad for the New York Jets and for the New York Football Giants on the practice squad. And as his career was ending around like 98, he was very intrigued in, scouting and development of these players. It's something that as he started getting exposed, as his career was ending, he really got exposed to that part of the NFL franchise. The scouting department, the pro development department, and all of that. It's something that he really liked, that he was really interested in. And so in 1999, when under Bill Parcells, he was hired. He joined the scouting department. Now, in '99, he joined the scouting department for the New York Jets. In '99, he was only placed on the college scouting department. But then the following year, in 2000, he was named manager of pro player development, and he worked with the New York Jets from '99 all up until 2004. And then, following his chronology, now remember this, keep this in mind. Bill Parcells joined the Dallas Cowboys as their head coach in 2003. And in 2005, Brian Gaine was brought on to be an aide to Bill Parcells. And not only that, get ready for this. Jeff Ireland, remember Jeff Ireland? Who was the GM? Who was the GM for the Miami Dolphins? Well, Jeff Ireland at the time was working with the Dallas Cowboys as vice president of college and pro scouting. But and Brian Gaine was I'm reading the title here, assistant director of pro scouting, an aide and assistant. And so he worked with Bill Parcells and Jeff Ireland from 2005 to 2008. And Bill Parcells was in 2008 was hired to be the Miami Dolphins vice president of football operations. Jeff Ireland was then later brought on to be the general manager, which is the position that he's held in Miami until now. And then soon after that, yep, you guessed it, Brian Gaine got his job, was hired by the Miami Dolphins as the assistant director of player personnel. And he's been in that position until about 2012. And in 2012, he was promoted to assistant general manager. So as you can tell, just by going through his chronology, the man is a Bill Parcells protege. He's worked under Bill Parcells and Jeff Ireland for a number of years, and he's been under some great tutelage, been surrounded by great people in his department. It's something that he really likes to do. It's something that I have been reading that it really intrigues him. It's something that he's very passionate about. So I'm sure a lot of people in Miami were very surprised when he was let go. Even when he wasn't even promoted when he wasn't given the general manager spot. Sure, everyone was. And the thing is, a lot of general managers start in the position as player personnel, pro personnel, scouting departments. They all have to start somewhere, right? So, it's and it's just one of these things where, you know, now the Houston Texans decided to take a look at him and say, wow, this guy really has a pretty nice resume. He's worked under, he's been tutored by a guy like Bill Parcells. He's worked with Jeff Ireland for a number of years. I mean, Brian Gaine has been quoted as saying it's kind of a mentor program. He was quoted by saying when talking about his relationships with Bill and Jeff, he said it's the opportunity to learn and develop under Bill and Jeff Ireland. It's very much a mentor program. They definitely take the time to show us how they want to do business. There's a ton to learn, and I have a lot more to learn. It's a tremendous opportunity. Now, this is the time when this quote was taken back when Brian Gaine was, you know, was hired in Dallas, and you know, when he was also joining their staff, their front office, excuse me, in Miami. So, you know, being able to work with those two, it's very impressive. I myself am a fan of Bill Parcells as a coach and as a guy in the front office. So we got a guy like him joining the Houston Texans front office as director of pro personnel. So we'll see what Rick Smith asks him to do. He's gonna. My guess is he's gonna report to Rick Smith, of course, being in his staff. So we'll see what kind of responsibilities is on his shoulders. But since the title reads Director of Pro Personnel, I'm assuming he's gonna be most of his job is going to be handled in free agency, which starts March 11th. You know, where he's going to have to deal with certain players in the league, bringing them in, and certain players on the roster right now. You know, are we going to let them go? Are we going to, you know, the one premier example is Matt Schaub in his contract. You know, is Matt Schaub willing to take a pay cut, or are we going to have to get rid of him? It's the way to free up cap space. I mean, that's the one thing too. Sometimes the guy in this position is often the guy responsible of making sure that the team stays, you know, under the cap. And I'm sure that's going to be the first thing that comes to mind when he's evaluating, you know, the personnel and the free agents on the market right now, and the potential free agents that are going to be on the market once March 11th hits. So, and he's going to be working with our now promoted assistant director of player personnel, Larry Wright, and the newly hired scout, Darren Roberts. So he's going to be surrounded, I believe, by good people. You know, we're starting over, completely fresh. I mean, I think only like one or two people still have their jobs from the old regime, with Gary Kubiak as the head coach. Aside from that, though, we'll see. So this man has his work cut out for him. That's all I got to say about that. He's got his work cut out for him. It should be interesting to see how he's going to look at the market once free agency begins. So that's all I got to. That's basically all I have to say about that. Like I said, free agency starts March 11th. What do you guys think about this new hire? What do you guys think of Brian Gaine, looking at his resume, based on what I've described? And I'll be sure to leave a link in the description of this video regarding where I found my notes, where I'm grabbing my notes from, about his chronology and his resume. So what do you guys think? Do you like the hire? Are you unsure about it? Is there anything that you don't? Is there something about this guy that kind of makes you go, huh? Or kind of makes you go, hmm? Tell me in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you guys. seems like something to look forward to, I believe. So tell me what you think. Be sure to leave a like on this video if you were informed, if you like the content. And also, if you want more Houston Texans coverage, please be sure to subscribe to this channel, Bulls on Parade Talk. And to those of you that are listening or who are unaware of, my podcast is still up and and this new episode will be on that podcast soon as this recording is complete. And the link for that podcast will also be in the description below for you to check out if you're not already. And this has been another episode of Bulls on Parade Talk. I'm your host, Joshua Sines. Again, just a final reminder, be sure to like this video, comment on what you think of this topic, what you think of this hire. Subscribe for more Houston Texans coverage. This is Joshua Sines, signing off.